So, what's it like to confront yourself? Find out. We're going to look deep inside of this today on the Reunion Hub. Hey, hello, how are you? I'm Spencer Mark. I am your host for the Reunion Hub today. We're going to be talking about a little bit of shadow work. Wore my black today here too, to be talking about a little bit about what it's like to really confront those parts of yourselves that you deny or repress. I'm doing this daily. And thanks for being here. We had a nice day yesterday. It's the day after Easter, where Jesus laid the eggs and stuff, ready for all the children to find. Hope that you found your eggs and that you're enjoying a high protein snack right now. But yesterday it was a good day. I'm just, Sundays are like one of my favorite days. Not a whole lot of expectations. Went out and I usually plan my day. I do a whole week of eating really nice, doing a good job. And then I had like this hankering for pizza all week. So both Adele and I went out to go find we live in the North End area, and we just went to like the North End Pizza. Decided to check that out. I've not had pizza in years. It's the first time I've had like meat and cheese on a pizza in probably 14 years. Old story backlog of me being like a vegan for 14 years, 14 freaking years. I did not eat cheese or meat or anything like that. So I decided to go for it. And to tell you the truth, it was really mediocre. But that's a story for another time. Sorry about the keep shaking the table here. Anyway, ice cream after that, nice bike ride, watch my blood sugar go way up and way down. I wear a monitor. This is what I help my clients with too, is just like measuring blood sugar. So of course I'm a guinea pig for myself too. You tried to I had a little bit of guilt, a little bit of shame that I was feeling when I was eating those, but I try to set that aside. And I did the hard thing this morning, like I do I do it every morning, but it was really hard this morning to step on the scale first thing I got up this morning. And that's that confrontation I had to have with myself, in order to kind of see like, look, I binged a little bit, ate a lot of pizza. I had had some nice ice cream, and I kind of paid that penalty. 3 pounds gained, 3 pounds. So I'm going to work on it this weekend to get that down. But I had a hell of a good time. Summer's nice. I mean, summer's on its way. Spring is feeling good. I hope you're feeling good out there too. But I wanted to talk about what confrontation means and how we need to have more of that in our lives when it comes to these changes that we want to make. And today I'm going to be talking a lot about, shadow work and like what that means a little bit. I am it's this shadows, this idea of like Carl Jung was the first to come up with it, is really acknowledging that those parts of ourselves that we repress, we hide, we deny, that we don't like, that we're afraid to put out there in the open. And the idea is that over time, the more that we just keep chucking stuff back into the dark, it has an effect on our unconscious behaviors. And then we become we have a conscious idea that we're being jerks. And this idea that you have to be positive all the time, and it turns toxic, and then get this toxic positivity. So that's the last thing that we want. And what I come here for, why I do what I do, is consistently working each day to make my life art. And what does that mean? To me, it's like having like an astute awareness that I'm in this moment right here, and I choose to accept my mess and to work with that mess and mold this mess into some form of masterpiece for myself with no judgment. So this is what I hope to do here today, is start to talking about those fears, those things that we repress, and then just coming forward with those a little bit more, and learning to accept our own flavor of life, because it's that darkness that really brings our light to the surface. Really think of it. A lot of times, like when you're if you're working with the art pieces, like you see this piece back behind me here, the only reason why you're seeing Frida's like face and cheeks glows because of all the dark and the shaded around it. You ever play around with some charcoal? It's like when you're trying to draw like the size of the face or the eyes. It's using that darkness to bring your light to the surface. And it's getting into the dark is where you're going to find the gold in life. I mean, the gold isn't just going to be out in the open. Miners had to go deep inside the earth, in the dark, in the danger, and to mine the gold out. Yeah, there's gold in them now hills there. I don't even know what that was, but you got to go in that gold. You got to go dig it out. Get yourself a shovel. So it's going to take a little bit of work to go in there, and I'm here to just give you my story of what I've been going through, even to just get this podcast going. Because this podcast, for me, this isn't just about just educating you. This is different. This is me having a confrontation with myself, because I almost didn't do this. It's so easy for me to just like, I don't know. I'm not going to be perfect. I have these moments where these things come up. It's like, I'm not good enough. I'm not smart enough. No one likes me. I can't do this. I'm not an expert. And that's my subconscious basic programming telling me, don't do this. This is not safe. This is not safe. Don't put yourself out there. So me being here is a confrontation with myself. I have to look the man in the mirror type thing and to move forward anyway. And so that's what this is about. Just free balling it, going for it. I don't know. Can I say free balling on a live stream? I just did anyway. But again, I'm an expert in my field of designing the life that men want to live. Whether that's it's your health, that's your emotional flexibility, if that's your mental toughness, whatever we want to do here. But finding a place where we can start to continually make your life the medium for which you can display your art, feeling good about it. Okay. This podcast is my test. So thanks for being here for that. So these two sides that things are happening every day within me and within a lot of people. It's this side that really wants to stay safe. It's just really I'm going to go ahead and go to the banners here too. It's just, and we're going to talk about this confrontation here. This back and forth. This side that wants to stay safe, and there's this side that wants to take chances. It's this side that wants to grow. So I'm going to put this down. It's this side that doesn't want to take a chance and wants to stay comfortable, keep your nervous system calm. And then there's this side that really wants to strive and to go for it. So it's this battle back and forth. And we want to look at this in a way to where there's kind of this ebb and flow between the two, because one can't be without the other. So it's not like we have to be this versus thing where things are coming in confrontation with one another as far as all the way through. But we need to be truthful from one side seeing another. That confrontation needs to come up to where he's like I'm wanting to make this change for myself. You're holding me back. Let's work together on this. So that takes astute awareness. So we're going to talk about that side that wants to grow versus that side that wants to stay safe. Okay, so don't beat yourself up over this process. We're all learning. We're all growing here. What part grows? Now, really, when it talks about, like, we talk about personal growth, it's not like your beard grows or your mustache, your hair. You get to my age, your hair starts falling out. What really grows? I feel it's your awareness. It's your awareness that grows. We talk about personal growth. It's your awareness of everything involved. And that's where you get that kind of this saying is like, the more you see, the less you know. And that's real wisdom, So understanding that we have a lot of things going on in our lives, and the more we're aware of that, we have a choice in order to be excellent, or we have this choice to just kind of not be, just to kind of let go of things, let things go where they may. But there's this quote by Connor Beaton here that came up in I'm reading this book right now. I definitely recommend you giving this a look. It's men's work. This is the host of Man Talks. This is really well done. I mean, even the matte finish here, the black, the dark green, it really speaks to the masculine side of things here too. But It's a practical guide to face your darkness in self-sabotage and find freedom. Now, there's some really great stuff inside here. And there's one quote in here that really struck me. It's like he said that if there is no confrontation, there is no actualization of potential. There's no confrontation, there's no actualizing of your potential. We cannot just be spectators and just watch our life go in front of us, because your whole life, you could live an entire life without truly living the life you want. So we need to have that confrontation. So it got me thinking, it's like, where have I been like passive in my life? Where have I made a stand for myself? And I've really had to be pushed in order to really make a stand for myself, because I'm a bit of a pleaser, because I want to engage with the herd, and I just want to be accepted. That's been a lot of my whole life. So it takes a lot of courage in order to stand up to those parts of you that want to keep you safe. And you're going to have a conversation with that person, that entity, that part. Say, I appreciate you keeping me safe here, but I really need to do this. That's me being here. So again, my purpose, my why. This isn't really about followers. This is more about confronting myself and growing through it. So that's the whole thing. And let's go a little bit into recognizing what this shadow is and what comes up for you. Again, Jung's definition of the shadow is understanding there's these parts of you that you're trying to disown or get rid of. There's a lot of things that we as men I have done before in my past that a lot of this came from my numbing. Well, actually, even before the numbing, is this trying to be perfect, in everything. And if I don't have the perfect reaction, if I don't have the right answer, if I don't have the right appearance, or if I'm not being accepted for my actions, for my thoughts, my opinions, then I might be outcast. And so I'm not going to say what I truly mean. And there has been times where I've not been my authentic self, and I just say things to fit along with the herd. And when that happens, there's that part of you, and that's been that part of me that gets chucked back into the dark. And that builds, and that shadow grows when I've not been true to myself, said what I really want, or shared or expressed my own ideas. So it's those parts of yourself you don't feel fit. If you feel like an outcast and you're just tired of, like, look, I'm tired of being myself right now. I just want to do what everybody else is doing, So this happens, and that's how that shadow again shows up. And as I have examples of showing you what that shadow is, I have plenty of things that show up in my life that show that shadow. So to help me recognize it, I have some examples of how the shadow shows up, and then what we can do to move forward with that. So I've had a lot of in times in my life where I've had this innate need to be right, because if I'm wrong, again, I'm outcast. If I'm wrong, my ego suffers a big blow, and I've caught myself trying to be right rather than thinking about the entire part of me trying to be in love with this other person. A lot of times this comes up big time in relationships. Am I right? I mean, you're with your significant other. No one knows you better than this person. You live together, and you start. I felt like we enter these conversations on kind of like automatic and autopilot. So we're reacting rather than taking time to respond, because pausing to take time to respond requires more brain power. It requires more awareness. And a lot of times we're just not going to do that because it takes up too much energy, right? You're in the flow. You're wanting to, you're got like a one-track mind. You're trying to accomplish this thing. Like, I want to get to the place where I'm driving to the place. I don't need directions. I know where I'm going. I know I can do this. Shouldn't you just stop and ask for direction? No, I'm not going to stop and ask for direction. Just, well, I'm going. I can do this. I can do it. Because I need to be right. And I can see, I told you I could do it. I told you. I win. This constant. It just shows up unconsciously, this needing to be right all the time. And the thing is, when you feel that you've won. Have you really won? How does that other person feel? Because if you win, that other person thereby loses. There's no tie. So what are we trying to gain here? So that's that needing to be right when in a relationship. That's when the big part of your shadow shows up. So that's number one, recognizing that. Number two, that black or white thinking. This look, if you voted for this person, that means you are a blank. Let's just say that's not the case. That's, again, not just black or white thinking, this absolute. And we want to think in absolutes because it's easier to just recognize, oh, you're one of those, therefore I can put you into this box right over here. Well, if you're not working out and you're gaining weight, then you're just going to be fat for the rest of your life. If you are consuming more calories than you're burning, therefore you're always going to be fat. That's not necessarily the case. We want this idea of just being absolute on our answers. And a lot of times that creeps up because a lot of fear can come up if our truth, what we know to be true, isn't right. If our belief system is tested, and this is what causes a lot of this black or white thinking. So if you catch yourself into saying, no, it's either this or this, it's either left or it's right. Either you own a Subaru, you are a granola. If you own a Ford F-250, you are a redneck. You're cutting a big part off. You're cutting the nuance out of life. And life's all about nuance. It's all about like understanding the gray, the different shades of gray. I mean, there's could be 50 shades of gray. I don't know if you've ever read that. I'd never read that book, but it's a little risque at this point. But anyway, what I'm saying here, life's about nuance. It's not black or white. So when you recognize that, it's that shadow creeping in. This next one's a big one for me. And catastrophizing. Just recently, Goodell and I, she took me back to her hometown of Cape Town. We were on our way to South Africa. And we're leaving Boise here. And we noticed that on our flight itinerary, one of our connecting flights was in Munich, and that they were planning to have a strike at the entire airport just hours after our plane leaves Munich. So just like 4 to 6 hours, we had like a window of time to land in Munich, hop on our plane, and leave before there would be a strike for 2 days. And that was terrifying to me because we were going to lose 2 days of our vacation just stuck in Munich. Just what are you going to do in Munich? Drink beer. But I was deathly terrified, So everything had to be perfect. We're taxiing, go to Denver. We were in Boise Airport, and we're taxiing, and we're just about ready to leave, and then we're waiting to taxi, and then finally comes over the PA. Ladies and gentlemen, there's a lot of wind in Denver, so what we're going to do is we're going to turn back to the terminal, and everyone's just gonna take a break for a little bit, and then we're gonna wait for these winds to die down. Then we're gonna be on our way to Denver. So turn around, folks. All right, and thank you very much for flying Delta. So I start freaking out. It's like, great. Now there goes our vacation. We're gonna miss our flight. We're gonna miss our flight. Not thinking that Adele had to remind me that we had a 6-hour layover in Munich. We were only going to be 30 minutes or an hour behind. But my fear took over, my catastrophizing, me wanting to be absolute and understanding. We're done. It's over. We just pack it up and go back home. That was me catastrophizing. God. And it was painful when she pointed out, it's like, you're catastrophizing. And that was painful just to even realize, yeah, you're right. God, I suck. Why did I do that? It's that shadow side coming up, just like saying, I need certainty. Just get ready for the worst. The worst is going to happen. The worst is happening right now. You're never going. Catastrophizing. How's it showed up before in your life? Just immediately jumping to the worst idea. For me, it shows up when I just want that certainty, so I can start to come to a certain understanding that everything's going to be okay. So catastrophizing, something I'm working on. Taking things personally, that's another one. When you take things personally, it really stems from comparing yourself to others and other people's achievements because you're wanting to do good in front of other people. So when we begin to take things personally, instead of, if someone's going to correct you on something, it's not a character flaw. It's okay to make mistakes. And so if we're comparing ourselves to others, we don't want to make a mistake because it feels like we can be behind that other person, or another person can be above us. We can kind of take comparisons out and just understand that we're going to make mistakes. Things are going to get messy, and that we shouldn't really take things personally. This is all just a learning adventure here. So when I take things personally, instead of just recognizing, hey, I made a mistake, that doesn't mean I am a mistake. That's the shadow coming up. Okay. And then this last one I want to hit here too, is just post-event rumination. Now, I was in improv comedy for a while. Growing up, I did some theater work, and I thought I should, later in my life, just a few years ago, I was with Comedy Sports. Wonderful people, had a wonderful experience. I just had to stop doing it because I wasn't really feeling it anymore. But one thing that I noticed is that after every session in doing improv is I would go through a scene while at practice. And when you're in improv, and you have to riff, you have a basic understanding of how the scene should be set and the questions you should ask, and involving your other character. So a lot of times it wouldn't go to as planned because it's improv. And then driving on the way home, I would just think, God, I should have said this. God, it would have been so much funnier if I had just asked them that, if I had just asked them about this person's career, where they screwed up. And my mind goes into a million different places of things that could have been better. I could have been better. I should have did this. Shoulda, coulda, woulda, thinking. And when we go back and we judge ourselves on this shoulda, coulda, woulda, that is the shadow creeping up. And if we don't have an understanding of what that is, that shadow builds. And then the need to be right becomes even stronger. And then what happens to your relationships when you're always trying to be right? When you can never take things personally all the time, when you catastrophize all the time, you're a stress sandwich. Who wants to hang out with you? No one wants to hang out with you. You're going to die alone and broke. This is the things I tell myself. That's catastrophizing. Yes. So just know that these things aren't flaws. These are protection strategies. We're trying to stay safe. Your brain is trying to keep you safe. We appreciate it. We appreciate all you do for us, but seriously, I'm the adult in charge. This is when we had to have that confrontation with ourselves. Like, hey, thank you very much for keeping me safe, but I'm okay. There's no saber-toothed tiger in the woods waiting for me right here. Like I need to learn. Thank you for taking me this far. I appreciate you. And that confrontation doesn't have to be like this. A confrontation could be a handshake. Hey, how are you? Greet yourself with kindness. That can be a confrontation too. So a lot of times, going into, there's this man Robert Masters, who's excellent with the shadow work. He's the master. He often talks about, the shadow forms around emotional wounds. So if there's been parts of your life to where you've suffered major trauma, you've been overly embarrassed, or you've been hurt, it's this emotional protection we build around that, rightfully so. So when anything begins to challenge that, or if there is some part of in our environment where it may have sounded the same, it may have looked the same, or even smells can trigger these emotional responses. So it's not you being flawed, it's you protecting yourself in different situations. So again, the shadow can form around your emotional wounds. Not a character flaw. It's you protecting yourself. So hopefully that helps me recognize my shadow. Now moving into perfection. Oh God, this has been a big thing with me here too, is just understanding that I just want you to know is that I've had this kind of this belief shift, thinking that perfection is like some sort of virtue. I really don't think perfection is a virtue. I really think it's more of a mental disorder than a virtue. The focus is on progression. The focus really is on awareness. When I talk about making your life a work of art, that means really accepting your messes, accepting your shadow. And how do we form these what we call maybe wasteful things, or wasteful moments, or times we've been embarrassed? How can we alchemize that You turn that lead into gold. So perfection used to be this thing to where I would aim for, but it just led to a lot of pain. Perfection leads to pain because you cannot be perfect. There's not even a perfect circle. Nothing's perfect. And who's judging the perfection anyway? It's just something in your mind. So the focus is on progression. The focus is on learning. The focus is knowing when, is having the awareness to know when to go at it, to back off, and to feel a flow. It's like this river. You imagine you're on a river and you're floating along. You can't really paddle against the tide here. You got to understand, you got to feel a flow, and you're using your oars or your rudders to kind of keep yourself in the middle of the river where the rapid runs through. There's a tree in the way. You need to look ahead and be aware and move yourself and feel and find a flow and a rhythm of life. And that's what we're looking to do. There's times to strive. There's times to let go and float. There are those times, but we need to be aware of doing when we do that. So there's no perfection. It's just learning. It's just growth. And that, to me, that's excellence. That's true acceptance of self. And so perfection, again, I just want to say my realization is perfection is really punishment. You're not going to be perfect, and there's no need to punish yourself here. Okay. If you're not 10% body fat, doesn't mean you're a loser, or if you don't have the perfect job, or if you're getting a bonus, or if your truck isn't lifted 6 inches and it's only lifted 4 inches, like that doesn't matter, right? It's not, things aren't going to be perfect. It just comes with that awareness of acceptance of where you're at. That's your art piece, and you work on it each and every day. So mantra here: I'm not what I've done. I've made mistakes, but I'm not a mistake. I am not what I've done. I've made mistakes, but I'm not a mistake. It's okay to make mistakes. You are not a mistake. Because if I think of myself as being a mistake, fight or flight kicks in, my nervous system kicks in. I'm ready to respond because I'm upset. I'm upset at being a mistake. But I can have more grace for myself, more space for myself when I could admit that, I have made mistakes. And I'm learning from those mistakes. And I have to be aware that I make mistakes. So it's okay. That's part of that self-acceptance. And when you are aware of the mistake and aware of the challenge, it's really a win. So there's no mistake when you're aware that I've screwed up. I didn't say the F word right there. I said screwed up. That was me being aware that I had a choice right there to be excellent. I could say the F word and get in trouble with YouTube, and maybe with you, and offended you. But I stopped, paused just for a minute, and I didn't screw up just then. But again, I'm not trying to be perfect. I'm just trying to get a little bit better. So, highlight, again, I really want to highlight the idea of being progression over perfection. You're crafting your masterpiece. Your life is a work of art. What strokes are you going to put on it today? Nothing's a mistake. But I just said, it's okay to make a mistake. Maybe that's a mistake. I don't know. You just got to flow with it. So if things are a mistake, how do we incorporate that into your art, into how you respond with people, and how you feel, how you look, how's your energy, what's your strength like, how are you aging, what food are you choosing to eat today, because that food that you eat today makes living tissue in your body tomorrow. So again, you have choices. And again, I love this. Art isn't flawless. Art isn't flawless. It has its flaws. It's expressive. It's raw. And that's what makes it so beautiful. There's still that love. That love can be in those screw ups. It's beautiful because of the mess. That's what makes it unique. That's what makes it human. So let's talk about the real test here. And I might be running a little bit long on time. Thanks for being here too. Hey, the real test, confronting yourself. And so this recording is my personal confrontation with myself. This is me just saying, God, it's not going to be perfect. I might look a little weird. I might sound a little bit weird, but I got to do it anyway. And there's just something digging within me that I have to just do this. And I know I'll feel so much better after I do it. I'd love to know, like, what comes up for you. What comes up for you? That what helps you do this? Yeah. Hey, I got like my first comment here too. This is Ruben. This is a friend of mine from Spain who's DJing. I got to meet when I used to do you know, breakbeat. I was a DJ'd for a lot of years. Still do from time to time, but this was I was on a breakbeat show in Europe when I lived there, and Ruben and I got to talking a lot. And Ruben's an excellent producer of music, an excellent DJ. It goes by the name Truckers, and progressive breaks are fine. He says, great job. You do you, man, talking all about the subtle and the spiritual things. Hey, I appreciate it, Ruben. Thanks so much for being here. You never know when you might, you just take that chance, you put yourself out there, and you're just going to be supported. And that right there, my first chat. If you feel like throwing a chat out there, we'll bring it up. We'll bring up if anything comes up for you, we'll bring it up. But thank you, Ruben. I appreciate you, brother. I appreciate you. So this confrontation with yourself, let people in on the inner critic dialogue. The inner critic dialogue shows up a lot for me when I do these morning pages each and every morning. And I'll just write three pages longhand. First thing when I wake up in the morning, if I write about my dreams, if I write about my day, whatever, the idea is to keep free writing. Even though this is stupid, I'm tired, I just want my coffee, just keep writing, keep writing, keep writing. And then you start to see what subconsciously we're thinking about. These subconscious thoughts that I have just start to bubble up when I'm writing. I'm just this confrontation I'm having with myself consistently. Just keep writing. And if I have to write the words, keep writing, I'll do it. And then something happens to where I start giving myself affirmations. You are a prolific writer. Your creativity heals others as well as myself. These affirmations come up. I'm a prolific writer. Let's just say like this keeps coming up. I'm a prolific writer. Then guess what happens? Some voice pops up in my head and says, you suck. You can't even spell right. Can you even spell prolific? The blurbs come up, right? When we start to give ourselves credit, the blurbs come up. So what I do is I write that blurb down and I identify that shadow side coming up. You can't do this. You can't do this. I'll write it down. I'll take a look at all these blurbs that I write. You can't do this. You suck. You're not enough. Your cursive sucks. Look, you need to change your pencil's dull, whatever it is. I go back to it, then I'll rewrite the blurb. You're not prolific. I am prolific. You suck. I don't suck. Actually, I'm the opposite of suck. I'm doing awesome. Like you can't even spell. I know exactly how to spell. I know what to write down. Take those blurbs and you begin to like, it's just on the fly, cognitive behavioral therapy, and just rewrite those blurbs. And you start this reprogramming process of your subconscious mind, your subconscious thoughts. So that to me is, that's really confronting yourself and really shining a light on that dark. Then when it creeps in and says, you can't do it, write it down and then proclaim, I can do it and I am doing it. But thanks for your support and thank you for your concern. I'm doing all right. So that's growth. That is absolute growth, is catching yourself in that moment and saying, look, hey, I'm actually doing this, but thank you for your help up to this point. Being aware in that moment, that's excellence right there. Choosing to reflect instead of ruminating. It's another thing here too. Choosing to reflect. To reflect means you bring up points in your life that actually happened rather than ruminating and thinking, oh man, you're only thinking about the bad shit instead of really going back in time of the things that were good. It was coffee date. Every Saturday I have coffee date with Adele. We go out and we just chat, we talk, and we have a great time. And Sancho's there, and he's our dog, and he's just chilling out on the floor. Dawson Taylor has a biscuit. People come in, put a smile on their face. He always puts a smile on their face because he's always. People come in and they smile. Those are those moments that you appreciate. You love those moments. I can reflect in those moments and say, man, I wish we got our coffee sooner. Man, this place really, oh man, people are making too much noise, instead of just saying, hey, look at the smile this dog puts on people's faces as we're getting high on caffeine. And as I've gotten older, you can definitely get high on caffeine. Just great. My face is getting redder. I can feel my blood sugar going up because I don't know, I'm talking too much, getting hot, but it's okay. Need to breathe. So the test, that's another part of the test. Another test here, so I'm looking through my script here, is just sitting with hard emotions instead of reacting. Sitting with hard emotions rather than reacting. I'm going to go into this real fast here. And when it comes down to my eating, I was eating too fast for a lot of years. I would eat and I would eat and I would eat and I would eat. I'd have like this big giant bowl of oatmeal and I would just eat and eat and be fast. And I was not thinking, I was not present. And it wasn't until I got some help from Adele and understanding somatic tools and somatic experience and understand what my body's going through, that I had this choice of like, why don't you put your fork down in between bites? And that was difficult to do. That was painful to do. And I started doing that. That was a hard emotion to do. My reaction was just to keep shoveling it in. So it was hard for me to have that moment of awareness and to go, I'm going to set this fork down, this spoon down, and just chew the food, taste it, be one with it. And that was painful at first, man. That was painful. But then it got easier the more I kept doing it. So that was just, for me, that was sitting with a hard emotion instead of reacting. Maybe work with your partner in this here too. If your partner says something and he knows it's going to dig at you, just sit with it for a little while before you react. That could be the best thing you do. You know, so a lot of times if someone throws a punch at us, we want to like hit back, but get smacked. Sit with it for a while. Your partner will appreciate it. So again, I just want you to know too that man, you're just learning. I'm learning as I move along here too, you know. So you and I, we're working together on this here too. So again, chime in the comments. What are you working on currently? Let me know. So let's go into this fourth bit. I just wanted to show. So I'm just gonna take this down and redefining your leadership. And obviously, like what I wanted to talk about here is just like offer you a new model. And that leadership really isn't about knowing everything. It's being willing to really go first. And that means just like you really using your courage to lean into things when things are difficult. And this is the whole bit of shadow work. Notice the difficulties, notice the pain, notice the discomfort. That's the shadow side. Okay, that's the part that's starting to peek its head. And if we run away from that, it's just going to follow you. That's why we call it a shadow, is because you can't outrun your shadow. It's going to keep following you until you turn towards it. Look inside there. And again, you're mining the gold you only can mine the gold from the dark. Only mine the gold from the dark. The best water is in solid rock, deep in the earth where it is dark. The best thoughts come from the brain, which is consistently in the dark. You know, so putting the dark aside and to not be willing to look in the dark, you're only living half of your life. So when you're working on recognize your shadow and digging the gold out of the dark, you are reclaiming your full self. That's when you become whole and accept yourself, and you won't be prone to people like setting you off and triggering you. Maybe they're right. Maybe it's an opportunity to learn more about yourself, which is awesome. You know, so and that's being a leader. And that's that willingness to practice your courage, going first into the dark and mining out that goodness. And midlife men, this is the perfect time for us to do our work, because that's when a lot of these insecurities come up. And buying that new Lexus is not, you know, it sounds awesome, you know, making that big purchase for that midlife crisis. It's really not going to help as much as this midlife chrysalis we can look at. This is a midlife metamorphosis. What do you want to work on? Let's design the second half of your life, and how can we make your life a living work of art? What do you want to look like? How do you want to feel? What do you see yourself doing? Do you want to start traveling some more? And when you're traveled, do you want to just go lay around at the beach, or do you want to go hiking up on the hills? When I work with people, When I work with people on whether it's on their pain, whether it's on their health, their well-being, their emotional fitness, their mental peace of mind, you know what they tell me they always want to do? These people that are sick and want to do more in their life, they want to hike. What is it about hiking? To be out in nature, to see the beauty in the world. And that's what we work on. When we're making our life a work of art, we're really focusing on tapping into beauty. Beauty can it can level the hardest of men, and it can melt the coldest and iciest of hearts. It's really tapping into that beauty. You're tapping into the love of all creation, and that's your true power. That's where your power lies, is to see the beauty in that ugliness. And that's what my work involves, is helping men be aware, is like, maybe those parts that you disown or you don't like anymore. Let's look into that. That's the gold, man. Let's look into it. Let's incorporate that. Let's integrate it into our life each and every day and build practices that build these behaviors that change the course of your life to where you live with purpose. You live with deeper connection to yourself. And when you have a deeper connection with yourself, you have a deeper connection with everyone around you. And you start to influence other people. And that's how you can bring about real change. It makes life fun and exciting, knowing when to flow, knowing when to push, knowing when to coast. But it's not coasting all the time. It's not pushing all the time. It's not grinding all the time. You can't. You're going to wear out. And you can't lay back all the time, because you will expire sooner. It's working on it each day and finding a practice that suits you, that makes you stronger, that makes you wiser, that makes you better, makes you chiller, makes you wiser, whatever that is. Everyone's unique. Everyone has a unique biology. Everyone has a unique makeup with unique backgrounds. And we're going to study that together if you choose to work with me. My call to action is very simple. You have a website. I have a website right here that I'm going to show you right here. It's brand new. It's very simple. spencermark.co. Get on the website, find a time with me, and we'll talk about designing your life. My idea is, again, it's a absolutely free setup. It's a free session. I want to learn from you. I want to learn what your situation is, and I want to learn how best to form your life with you, not for you, with you. So that's my call to action here for you here too. So I want you to think about this here in this closing invitation here. Thank you for being with me here for this long. I just want you to know, I want you to reflect, what part of you do you hide? I want to know. Put it in the comments. Anything. Just, what are you hiding? Bring it out there and see what that feels like. Try that on. Do you feel something in your chest? Do you feel something in your head when you say that? What part of you are you hiding? And it doesn't have to be everything, but just whatever you feel comfortable with sharing. Another thing, what would it look like for you to approach that thing you're hiding with curiosity rather than judgment? Getting curious about the thing. Practice let's really look at it instead of I don't want to, just slowly look towards the thing. That's the confrontation. What would it be like for you to approach things with curiosity, not judgment, curiosity? Can you separate who you are from what you've done? Understanding, can you separate? What can help separate who you are from what you've done? Again, you are not a mistake. Maybe you've made mistakes. There's a big difference there. Okay. Can you separate who you are from what you've done? And again, in the moment, we always make the best choices with the information that we have, because things are always changing. You're not a flawed individual. You're just not. We learn to work with these flaws overall, what we might deem flaws, but we work them into your masterpiece. Make your choices to make your life a living art. So, look, I just want you to know you're not broken. You're just unfolding right now, okay? And this is the art of kintsugi, which is the art of, it's this Japanese art of taking a bowl that's been broken and then putting it together, soldering it with gold, which makes the bowl stronger. That means we embrace the flaws. We embrace the broken pieces and we integrate that and we become stronger because of it. Kintsugi. I'll talk more about that in the future. So I invite your messages. I invite your reflections. I invite your shares. I want you I want to thank you for being here with me, those that have been here. And I uh, thank you for just walking this imperfect but beautiful life with me. And if you want to continue, visit my website. Let's set up a session. I'd love to get to know you. If you're serious about making these changes, I work with these professional guys each and every day. If you want to take it to another level, then let's explore. And again, I just want you to know, sign off line is that your life is already a work of art. Thank you for being here.